Chapter 962. Xie Jingxing left. Shen Miao was sitting alone in front of the table when Jingzhe walked in and looked outside. Just now she was in the outer room, and these two people's voices were not deliberately lowered, so she could hear every single word that was said. Now seeing that Shen Miao's expression was not good, even though her heart was perturbed, she could not help but speak. "Foreign, you are too distant with His Highness." Shen Miao did not speak, and Jingzhe continued. "Originally, before Foreign married into the residence of Prince Qin Wang, you treated His Highness better than now. These days, it seems that you are deliberately hiding from His Highness. One who is ill would be particularly sensitive, especially after His Highness escaped from death. One fear that his heart would be even more subtle. Foreign is not concerned at this time. His Highness would inevitably feel uncomfortable. After Foreign persuade him with some kind words, it should be all right. Foreign must not be too sad." Shen Miao said, "I know. You can leave." Jingzhe then withdrew. After Jingzhe left, Shen Miao then pressed her forehead. She was struggling to face Xie Jingxing, but in all fairness, Xie Jingxing was also innocent in this. That sentence, actually from the beginning till the end, "Your heart has never been moved right," made her shudder. Shen Miao could not remember when she was moved by Xie Jingxing. Perhaps it was when he saved her life at the Wanli Lake, or perhaps it was when he took off his mask in front of Princess Rong Xian in the princess residence. Or perhaps it was on the day of their marriage when he stretched out his hand on the tall horse. Or perhaps it was even earlier. Even earlier, when she set fire to the ancestral hall, the first time she met Xie Jingxing and the confrontation with Xie Jingxing. The feeling of being moved was too far away. In her previous life, she was only moved by Fu Xiu Yi, and the price was heavy. With the previous example, she did not dare to be easily moved, and even if she had to give out her feelings, she would be stingy, careful, and care about the gains and losses before giving out. However, Xie Jingxing was different. One did not know if it was because he was so arrogant or reckless, but he squandered his feelings. In this marriage, the two of them did not contribute equally. But Shen Miao had also given her everything that she could give. Until now, because she was tempted, she could not deal with Mei Furen without scruples. Admiration and suspicions were intertwined, and she was unable to face Xie Jingxing. As for Xie Jingxing, he was probably completely disappointed in her in his heart. She was sitting in front of the table. The herb that she had obtained from Taoist priest Qian with great difficulty was casually thrown aside in a box. Because no one had taken care of it these days, a thin layer of dust had fallen on it, and no one paid attention to it anymore. For the next few days, Shen Miao's days were somewhat strange. One did not know what happened between Luo Tan and Gao Yang. Most likely Luo Tan was bothered that Gao Yang had lied to her. When Gao Yang saw that Xie Jingxing's poison was almost cleared, he left the old imperial physician in the prince's residence and pulled Luo Tan to an unknown place. Ji Foreign and Ji Yushu also returned to the Ji residence. As long as Xie Jingxing was fine, there was no meaning for them to stay in the residence of the prince of first rank. For some reason, Pei Lang seemed to have caught a cold, so he rested in the room and did not go out. Thus Shen Miao was suddenly left alone by her side. The servants in the residence of the prince of first rank could see that Xie Jingxing and Shen Miao were in a cold war, so they were very careful with their work. In a moment, everyone in the residence of the prince of first rank felt insecure, and the atmosphere was even heavier than when Xie Jingxing was unconscious. It was at this time that people from the Yi family came. People from the Yi family came to recognize Yi Mei and Yi Ku. The Yi family seemed to know that Shen Miao did not like Yi Mei and Yi Ku, so they did not mention this matter to Shen Miao. Today, he was just here to inform them. Chapter 963. It was just that Shen Miao, as the princess of Prince Rui's residence, still had to meet her. In the main hall of the prince's residence, Yi Foreign was talking to Yi Ku, and Yi Mei was sitting at the side with a slight smile. Yi Mao Tsai's head was slightly raised as if he was saying something, and the person sitting in front of him was Xie Jingxing. Xie Jingxing was wearing a silver-purple robe, and most likely because his injuries were not completely healed, he was sitting lazily and casually. Listening to Yi Mao Tsai's words with a smile that was not a smile, one could not clearly see what it meant. When Shen Miao came in, the first person to see her was Yi Mei, and Yi Mei quickly stood up to greet her. However, Yi could not move. Now that they were the children of the Yi family, their status had risen, and naturally, there was no need to greet the princess or the prince like in the past. It was just that Yi Mei wanted to greet, but Shen Miao did not even help and just accepted it. A trace of unhappiness flashed in Yi Foreign's eyes, but Yi Ku did not show it. Yi Maokai swept a glance at Shen Miao and saw everything. Shen Miao walked to the other side and sat on the main seat beside Xie Jingxing. Yi Maokai got up and said, "These days in the prince's residence, Mei and Kuer have troubled us. Thanks to the princess' care, one is very grateful." Shen Miao smiled gently. "One cannot bear the word troubled. Speaking of which, ye young lady and gentleman Yi are his highness's benefactors. It is somewhat excessive to say troubled." Yi Maokai laughed and said a few words to smooth things over, but heard Shen Miao's words change and asked doubtfully, "But how did Li young lady and gentleman Li become Yi young lady and gentleman Yi? It is somewhat surprising that the relatives that the two of them are looking for are the Yi family." When she spoke like this, Xie Jingxing only played with the teacup in his hands and did not stop nor comply, as if he was watching from the sidelines. Yi Maokai was somewhat unsure of Xie Jingxing's meaning and hesitated for a while before smiling. It is shameful to speak of it, but it was something that happened more than 10 years ago. At that time, when my lowly wife was giving birth, the midwife in the residence was disloyal and received orders from a traitor to change my son from a dragon to a phoenix. They were actually a pair of brother and sister, but they had been replaced by a baby girl who had died young. In the past few years, with the thought of not washing their dirty linen in public, they had never made it public and had only investigated in secret. This time, the two of them entered Long Yi and accidentally came to the prince's mansion. Later on, they said they were looking for their relatives, so they met. Yi Maokai was born with a fair complexion and no facial hair. Looking at the amiable scholar, his words were even more sincere, as if he had taken out 120% of his sincerity. He looked at Shen Miao and laughed. It is said that Mei and Kuer saved His Highness the Prince of First Rank's life, but in fact our Yi family should be the one thanking His Highness. If it was not for this free combination of factors, our family would not be able to reunite. Exactly. Madame Yi laughed as well. Ever since Shen Miao met Madame Yi, this was the first time she saw Madame Yi laughing so happily. It was as if she was genuinely happy. No one would suspect that Yi Mei and Yi Ku were her long-lost children. But Shen Miao could not do it no matter what. In her previous life, she was a daughter of an official's daughter in Mingqi, but in this lifetime, she became a great Liang person. One feared that the entanglement of this was not that simple. Yi Mei and Yi Ku sat at one side. Yi Mei was beautiful, and Yi Ku was astute. With one look, one could tell that they were rare talents. What was even rarer was that they kept their propriety and did not speak rudely or use their identity as Xie Jingxing's savior to do anything. Because of that, others could not have any ill feelings towards them. That's right. Fu Xiu, he was an astute and almost cold person. He was so selfish that he did not even hesitate to lay his hands on his own children, but he only doted on Mei Foreign. It could be seen that she had her own uniqueness. Chapter 964. That is really a coincidence. Shen Miao smiled gently and casually said, "Qin province is not far from Longyi. The Yi family had searched for more than 10 years and could not find it, but this time they found it upon entering the residence of the prince of first rank." She looked at Yi Mei. "It is really fate, is it not, young lady Yi?" Yi Mei smiled, "Of course. The residence of the prince of first rank is a blessed land." She did not seem to hear the meaning behind Shen Miao's words, and instead readily agreed. Shen Miao shifted her gaze and looked at Yi Maokai. "Today Yi Darren came over," Yi Maokai quickly said. "I am here to bring them back to the residence." Finishing, he blushed. "As the biological father, it is our fault to let the siblings wander outside for so many years. Now that the family is finally reunited, naturally one cannot let them live in the wilderness. Today they will be brought back to the residence and be placed on the jade plates tomorrow. From now on, they're the descendants of my Yi family." When he finished, there was some excitement in his expression. Looking at Yi Mei and Yi Ku again, there were faint tears in their eyes. Xun Miao, however, felt that this play was lame and tasteless. Yi Maokai complimented Xie Jing Xing a few more times, but it was because of Yi Ku and Yi Mei that he wanted to build a friendship. This attitude was somewhat subtle. The imperial family of the Great Liang had the intention to rope in the Yi family to deal with the Lu family, and the Yi family's position was crucial. Thus, they had always been neutral and did not express their stance. Logically speaking, if Yi Mei and Yi brother returned to the Yi family, the Yi family would have more confidence to contend with the Lu family, and naturally there was no need to compromise and submit to the imperial power. Now this attitude revealed that they wanted to stand on the side of Emperor Yongle. After all, the relationship between the residents of Prince Rui and Emperor Yongle was very close, and by pleasing the residents of Prince Rui, it was tantamount to expressing loyalty to Emperor Yongle. Xun Miao's heart gradually sank. This was naturally not what she was happy to see. Once the Yi family really stood on the side of Emperor Yongle, if she were to bring down the Yi family from behind, it would be cutting off Emperor Yongli's support. Not to mention Emperor Yongle, even Xie Jingxing would not be willing. But if she were to form an alliance with the murderer who killed her children, she would not be able to escape the word disgusting in this lifetime. However, Xie Jingxing's attitude was thought-provoking. He listened to Yi Maocai's words carelessly and answered in an indifferent manner, perfectly avoiding questions that required him to express his attitude. He was neither up nor down, neither clear nor clear, fooling Yi Maocai around in circles. Yi Maocai and Madame Yi stood together and talked for a long time. It seemed like they had told Xie Jingxing everything. Thinking back, it seemed like Xie Jingxing did not reveal anything. When the Yi family expressed goodwill to the imperial family, even if the imperial family did not immediately shed tears of gratitude, they still had to reciprocate. But looking at Xie Jingxing's attitude, it was as if he was watching a show, lazy and not paying attention. It even made people doubt if he understood the hint in Yi Maocai's words. Yi Maocai and his wife were somewhat anxious and exchanged glances with Xie Jingxing. Everyone said that this Prince Rui of the Great Liang was slippery but very thorny and watertight. Today, when they got so close to him and left the court, it still made one unable to fathom him. This kind of attitude made Yi Maocai and his wife unable to get angry and also had no reason to be at ease. They originally wanted to put on airs, but in the end, they did not know who did it, and Xie Jingxing gained the upper hand. Unknowingly, they were led by the nose by Xie Jingxing. Xun Miao was also somewhat surprised by Xie Jingxing's attitude. Thinking about it, the Yi family's sudden goodwill was already fishy, and Xie Jingxing was not a brainless person, so naturally he had to investigate it clearly. But this made her heave a sigh of relief. As long as Xie Jingxing did not clearly express goodwill towards the Yi family, or in other words, looked at the Yi siblings in a different light because they had saved their lives, her heart was much calmer. Chapter 965. In the end, no one was able to convince the other. It was the first time Yi Maocai met with such a neither soft nor hard nail like Xie Jingxing. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, Yi Maocai did not say anything. He did not see Xie Jingxing express a clear attitude and knew that today's trip was a waste and there was no point in staying any longer. But his family's intentions had been conveyed, and he brought Yi Mei and Yi Ku to leave. Xie Jingxing instructed Uncle Tang to send them off. Just as he was about to leave the main hall, Madame Yi seemed to have thought of something. She turned around and asked, "Prince Wu's birthday is in a few days, right?" Xun Miao was surprised for a moment. She did not know about Xie Jingxing's birthday, so the one in Mingqi was definitely not true. As for Great Liang's side, she had never heard Xie Jingxing talk about it. However, Madame Ye's eyes were sharp. She saw Xun Miao's slightly surprised expression and asked with a smile, "Why does it seem like Qin Wang Fei doesn't know?" Yi Mei and Yi Ku also stopped, and Yi Mei looked at Xun Miao with a subtle gaze. As a wife, she didn't know her husband's birthday, and it was an outsider who told her. The relationship between husband and wife was strange. Xie Jingxing sat in the living room and drank his tea. It was as if he did not hear what Madame Yi said. Shun Miao smiled faintly and replied, "Does Madame Yi still remember Miss Yi and young Master Ye's birthdays?" Madame Yi was puzzled. Shun Miao did not give her a chance to speak and smiled. After missing more than 10 years, Yi Foreign should first think of how to compensate young Lady Yi and Gentleman Ye's birthdays. The meaning behind her words was, take care of your own matters before worrying about other people. Do not be bored after eating your fill. Madame Ye's expression turned ugly after being mercilessly slapped in the face. Yi Maokai seemed to be a little embarrassed. Yi Mei pulled Yi Ku and bowed to Shun Miao before hurriedly bidding farewell. Looking at their departing figures, Shun Miao took a deep breath. Yi Mei and her brother had finally succeeded. Before she made her move, the Yi family had finally succeeded in sheltering them. From now on, if he wanted to suppress Yi Mei and Yi Ku, he would first have to deal with the Yi family. This was much harder than just assassinating a pair of siblings, especially when it was mixed with the complicated interests of the imperial family of the Great Liang. Pulling one part would affect the whole body, and it would be even more difficult. It really made one feel indignant and unhappy. She thought and hesitated for a moment before turning back to look at Xie Jingxing, thinking about how she was angry yesterday. Because of the relationship between Wan Yu and Fu Ming, she vented her anger on him. Today he did not treat Li Mei and her brother specially, so he must be rational. Perhaps they should have a serious talk. These days, her performance was indeed a little too terrible. But just as she turned her head, she saw Xie Jingxing expressionlessly standing up and walking past her, as if he was a stranger. Not a single word was spoken. Shun Miao's sentence of, "I have something to tell you," was stuck in her throat and could not be swallowed for a long time. When Gu Yu and Jing Zhe behind saw this, they looked at each other in dismay. Both of them knew that Shun Miao and Xie Jingxing were in a cold war these days, and if the master was not good, naturally the servants would not be happy. But just now, Shun Miao obviously had the intention to reconcile, and Xie Jingxing was so cold, one feared that his young lady's heart was hurt. Jing Zhe and Gu Yu had followed Shun Miao for so many years, especially in the recent 2 years. They had a clear understanding of Shun Miao's temperament. Her self-esteem was extremely strong. With Xie Jingxing like this, even if Shun Miao had the intention to make peace, she would not take the initiative to do so. Jing Zhe said in a low voice, "This is bad. If this goes on, she had just married over. How would she live in the future?" Gu Yu also muttered, "One must think of a way." When Shun Miao returned to the room, the more she thought about it, the more upset she felt. Xie Jingxing's attitude toward a stranger was really very vexing. She had been an empress in Ming Qi for many years, and other than Fu Ming and Wan Yu who wanted to curry favor with Fu Xiu Yi, she had never given in to others. She had a strong temperament, else she would not have fought with Mei Foreign for so many years. Chapter 966. With Xie Jingxing's current attitude, it made her thoughts of having a good talk with the other party fade. Both of them were inflexible, but Xie Jingxing usually disdained to fight with others, and she herself hit it well. So when they tangled with each other, it was a tragic sight to behold. Just as she was thinking, someone knocked on the door, and it was Ba Jiao, who pushed the door open. Ba Jiao placed a plate of pastries on Shun Miao's table with a smile. This is the new pastries made in the small kitchen and was specially made according to Ming Qi's taste. Foreign should try and see if it is to your taste. Because of the Cold War between Shun Miao and Xie Jingxing, the servants in the residence were also cautious. The people from the MOU army would naturally side with their own masters, just like Jing Zhe and Gu Yu would definitely stand on Shun Miao's side. Ba Jiao and Fennel had already left, and one did not expect that Ba Jiao would come back at this time. One feared that the drunkard had ulterior motives. Shun Miao looked at him and said, "You have something to say to me?" Ba Jiao smiled at once and scratched his head. "This servant is stupid and was seen through by Foreign before I said anything." "Foreign, this servant was found by Jing Zhe and Gu Yu to persuade you." Outside the door, Jing Zhe and Gu Yu's expressions suddenly became strange. This Ba Jiao said that she was stupid, but she usually looked very smart. She said that she was smart, but now she was pouring beans out of a bamboo tube and bringing the two of them out. They really didn't know what to say. Shen Miao laughed in spite of herself. What do you want to persuade me about? They all said that Foreign's temperament is very cold. After Master was injured for so many days, Foreign ran out on her own without a trace and did not come to see Master. After Master woke up, he only came to see once. Everyone felt it was unfair for Master, so these days Foreign has been cold to Foreign. One hoped that Foreign will not blame. Shen Miao shook her head. What they said is the truth. But Foreign's temperament is not cold. Ba Jiao smiled. Foreign just does not like to say it out. Otherwise, she would not bring us to wander around the forest for an entire night, and must find that expert to ask for herbs for Master. But why did Madame tell Master about this? Shen Miao said blandly. The person who saved him was not me, and at the end the medicinal herb was useless. It was a futile effort and did not have any effect, so it is not counted as merit. What is there talk about? She also did a lot of things for Fu Xiu Yi in the Inner Palace. She reduced it to simplicity and helped Fu Xiu Yi win a good reputation in the world. In the end, she could not match the decree that Li Ku issued for Fu Xiu Yi. If he said it out loud, he would only be laughed at and pitted. It would be better not to say it at all. Octagon and Niece frowned and said, "But those are your kind intentions." Shen Miao looked at her. "Feelings?" Octagon and Niece nodded. Regardless of whether you managed to save Master or not, even if the herb was useless in the end, your intentions were genuine. If you hide your intentions, how will Master know? Madame wandered in the forest for a whole night, and when she insisted on moving forward, those were her kind intentions. In this servant's opinion, Madame's intentions are even more precious than those medicinal herbs. If Madame hides your intentions because the medicinal herbs are useless, wouldn't that be throwing away a watermelon and picking up a sesame seed? Shen Miao was startled. Octagon and Niece said with a smile, "Madame, your intentions are more useful than the medicinal herbs and can cure Master's illness. Must the intentions be said out loud in order to be known?" Shen Miao looked down. If there's a heart, how can one not understand? Octagon and Niece shook his head. It may be so for others, but it is different for Master. Oh, you also know that Master's life was not smooth sailing. The MOU army was built by Master, and this servant has followed Master for a long time. Master usually faces schemes every day, but those are from outsiders and enemies, so there is nothing wrong with it. But as one of us, one would hope to be more frank. Octagon and Niece looked at Shen Miao seriously. "Madam, you are Master's wife and the person closest to Master. If you do not even explain your intentions, Master may be aware, but he will not be sure. The more precious something is, the more demanding it is. Master values your intentions, so he would be angered. He does not doubt you, but himself." Chapter 9:67. He was not doubting you, but doubting himself. Shen Miao suddenly jolted, as if a piece of ice in her heart had blossomed because of this simple sentence. From it, soil was born, a trickle of water was born, and a long green field was born. Master would also doubt himself, doubt that he is not good, doubt that he is not as good as others, and doubt that you are dissatisfied with him. When all these doubts are added together, it would become doubt of your intentions. Like this, do you still want to hide your intentions? Shen Miao's eyes slightly drooped, and her heart started to rise and fall. Xie Jingxing was such a proud person that even in the midst of thousands of troops, he would still casually smile. He lived in the filthiest and most chaotic court strife, and at such a young age, he had to carry a heavy burden that did not belong to him. His relatives, brothers, and friends, he was neither close nor distant, and no one believed in his sincerity. This made him seem like a person who did not care about anything. However, it made people forget that he had the most straightforward sincerity and the naivety of a youth. Just like how he treated Su Mingfeng, Princess Rong Xian, and even the Marquis of Linen. He was so proud that he refused to explain everything, but was doing everything behind the scenes. This kind of person, in the past life or this life, would not mix together with Li Mei and Li Ke. She should not have doubted at all. Her distrust came from her lack of confidence in herself. Just like Xie Jingxing's suspicion towards her, it came from his suspicion towards himself. Shen Miao closed her eyes. Just like what Octagon Jiao said, when one was facing the most precious thing, they would always be extremely demanding. She was moved by Xie Jingxing. Thus she was afraid that Xie Jingxing and Mei Foreign were involved, and Xie Jingxing's concern for her made her become a thorn in the other's side. She seemed to have done something wrong, but fortunately, there was still a chance to make up for it. Octagon Jiao saw the change in Shen Miao's expression and suddenly smiled. Foreign hope that you can coax Master well. These days Master's temperament is very cold, and the MOU army would not be able to take it. Shen Miao shook her head and smiled. I know. But Octagon Jiao hesitated for a moment before asking, Foreign, do you have any grudges with the siblings of the Yi family? Shen Miao was surprised for a moment. Why do you say that? Everyone in the prince's residence knew about her cold attitude towards the Yi siblings. Everyone had their own guesses, but this was the first time they met. Everyone said that Shen Miao was jealous of Yi Mei's beauty. Although it was ridiculous, they could not find any other reason. Why would the octagonal Annis ask such a question? You are too cold to that pair of brother and sister. These days, Master had sent people to investigate the background of that pair of siblings, but it seemed that nothing was amiss. So, madam? Shen Miao's heart moved. Firstly, it was unexpected that Xie Jingxing would secretly investigate the background of Yi Mei and her brother. Secondly, the background of this pair of siblings. Even Xie Jingxing could not find anything wrong with it, so they were really innocent. They do have some grudges with me, Shen Miao said, but this matter is of great importance and will not be mentioned for the time being. The octagonal Annis thoughtfully nodded his head and looked at Shen Miao with a smile. It is good that Madam has thought it through. Foreign must not hide your intentions. Right now, Master is muddle-headed from anger and can't see it, but that day when we accompanied Foreign to look for the strange Taoist, we all saw it clearly. Anyone with eyes can see Foreign's intentions, so there's no need to hide it. He then winked at Shen Miao. Master's birthday is on the 3rd day of the next month. In previous years, there would be a banquet at the Bai Xiao Lu in Longyi. This servant had secretly asked the housekeeper, and it is the same this year. If Madam wants to prepare a birthday gift, it is best to prepare it for Master in these few days. Before Shen Miao could speak, the octagonal Annis threw another sentence. Master is a person that is easy to coax. If it is not possible, Madam can personally make a bowl of longevity noodles, and Master's anger will be appeased. Of course, the most important thing is not to hide your intentions. Master will be even happier. He ran away like a wisp of smoke. Shen Miao looked at the 2 doors that she had knocked open and was startled for a moment before laughing out loud. Her heart was much more relaxed than a few days ago. Since some things could not be avoided, then it was better to face them directly. For example, a blood feud that could not be severed. For example, unspeakable intentions. Chapter 968. The 3rd day of the 7th month was Xie Jingxing's birthday. Everyone in Prince Rui's residence should be busy. It was said that although Xie Jingxing himself did not like it, Emperor Yong Lu would hold a banquet for Xie Jingxing at the Azure Heaven restaurant every year. The more Emperor Yong Lu valued Xie Jingxing, the more the courtiers respected Xie Jingxing. Of course, Xie Jingxing's performance in these 2 years was worth scrutinizing. The birthday banquet had always been a day to curry favor. Early in the morning, a steady stream of birthday gifts poured into the courtyard. Uncle Tang was busy recording these things in the book and even showed it to Shen Miao. Shen Miao was after all the Wang Fei of the residence of Prince Rui. Even though she was in a cold war with Xie Jingxing these days, she still had to look over the accounts. Shen Miao glanced at it and saw a dazzling array of names. No matter if it was a high-ranking official or a low-ranking official, all of them rushed over to curry favor. The Lu and Yi families also sent over congratulatory gifts. Shen Miao sighed in her heart. It was only because Emperor Yong Lu and Xie Jingxing had a close relationship that if it was in Ming Qi, Any official who held a birthday banquet with so many people coming over to congratulate, in the eyes of the emperor, that person would be the first to be suspicious. In the end, when it came to Long Yi, he did it with great fanfare, which made people feel a little surprised. Uncle Tang pointed out to Shun Miao which gifts should be placed in the storeroom and which gifts could be used directly. At the same time, he asked Shun Miao, "Today, Foreign must not forget to dress up early. Tai Yi's side will send someone to fetch Foreign to buy Xiao Lu." Shun Miao was puzzled. "Me?" Uncle Tang smiled and said, "Madam is our Wang Fei and His Highness's wife. Madam naturally has to attend His Highness's birthday." After hesitating for a moment, he stuttered, "When a husband and wife quarrel, they quarrel at the head of the bed and reconcile at the end of the bed. His Highness looks angry, but if Madam doesn't go over today, I don't know how long she'll be sulking with me, so understood. I will go over," Shen Miao said. Uncle Tang then heaved a sigh of relief and exhorted Shen Miao with a few words before leaving. After leaving, Shen Miao finished looking at the account books and packed them up before preparing to return to the room. Jingzhi came up with a thick face and carefully asked Shen Miao, "Foreign will definitely go to by Xiao Lu tonight, right? Prince Rui's residence is being stared at by others. Now that I have just arrived at the Great Liang, there will surely be people watching the show. If I don't go, it will instead give people the chance to gossip. It is better to go directly and deal with whatever comes. Isn't it better?" Jingzhi nodded her head repeatedly. "That's right. They want to see what our Ming Qi's Wang Fei looks like, so let them see it clearly. A foreign that came out of the general residence. How can anyone casually become a Wang Fei?" Gu Yu pulled Jingzhi and glared at her before whispering, "The more you speak, the more exaggerated it is." Jingzhi's lips twitched, and seeing that Shen Miao had already walked into the room, she whispered to Gu Yu's ears, "Foreign is still feeling awkward and finds so many reasons. If one wants to give in to son-in-law, then just say it first. No one would laugh at it." He then sighed with emotion. Foreign is finally willing to admit defeat. Son-in-law is truly capable. Gu Yu said, "Speak less of it." When Shen Miao returned to the room, Jingzhi and Gu Yu also followed in. Gu Yu asked, "Does Foreign want to pick what to wear tonight? This servant also wants to think about what kind of hair to comb." Shen Miao said, "Those will be done later. Help me grind the ink." Jingzhi and Gu Yu looked at each other in dismay. Both of them did not know why Shen Miao was interested in writing at this moment. Speaking of which, Shen Miao was not a person who loved to write and draw, but they would naturally follow their mistress' intention. Shen Miao spread out the letter, and Gu Yu and Jingzhi then understood that it was to write a letter. Chapter 969. Shen Miao asked Gu Yu, "Older Biao's sister should be back soon." Gu Yu said, "Gentleman Gao had sent someone to pass the message and would definitely be able to make it in time for by Xiao Lu's birthday celebration tonight." Luo Tan and Gao Yang had disappeared for the past few days. Luo Tan had a fiery temper, and Gao Yang had lied to her before. It would take a while for Luo Tan to calm down, so Gao Yang simply abducted her. Shen Miao was also relieved as she knew that Gao Yang's character would not do anything bad to Luo Tan, and on the contrary, Gao Yang was much more dangerous. Today was Xie Jingxing's birthday, and as Xie Jingxing's left and right arm, and also Xie Jingxing's friend, naturally he would rush over. Shen Miao pondered for a moment before picking up the brush to write a letter. She was somewhat hesitant in writing, and after writing 2 or 3 sentences, she seemed to feel that it was not good and quickly crumpled the letter into a ball before throwing it into the wastepaper basket. She started to write again, and after writing for a while, she threw it away like before. At the end, one did not know how many pieces of paper were wasted before she kept the brush. After putting the letter into an envelope, she handed it over to Jingzhi. Later, when Yu Sitai, "Pass this to him and let him pass it to Xie Jingxing during the birthday banquet." Jingzhi's eyes widened as she did not think that it was for Xie Jingxing. She thought that Shen Miao was writing a letter to Shen Xian and wife, and was feeling strange that the letter was already written 2 days ago. So why was it being written again? Shen Miao said, "Gu Yu, go out for me." She then casually pulled a piece of paper and wrote a few strokes before handing it to Gu Yu. "Help me buy these few things." Gu quickly said yes. Both of them left in a hurry. Shen Miao sat in the room, but gave a sigh of relief. She rarely gave in to someone. Especially in this lifetime, the pride in her bones did not allow her to lower her head to others, but this time it was considered that she was in the wrong. Moreover, Xie Jingxing was also a proud person, and between the two of them, one must lower their head first. Shen Miao thought that since Xie Jingxing did not know anything, there was no need for him to lower his head. After receiving so many congratulatory gifts at the birthday banquet, she had to show something. However, Prince Rui's residence was not lacking in gold, silver, and jewels. Her handmade needlework was not considered exquisite. After thinking about it, there were only some simple things. Hopefully, what Octagonal and Niece said was true. Xie Jingxing looked picky on the surface, but was actually easy to coax. However, what she was most concerned about was that among the guests of the Azure Heaven restaurant, the Yi family had come, so the Yi siblings were also one of them. Whenever the Yi siblings were present, she would always follow closely behind to prevent the two from playing any tricks. It was even more impossible to allow Xie Jingxing to have any interaction with the two when she was not present. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, it was already evening. The people that Tai Yi sent had already started to come over to pick them up. Jingzhe inserted the last hairpin for Shen Miao and smiled. It is done. Foreign will definitely be able to beat everyone today. I'm not a contestant. What's the use? Shen Miao laughed in spite of herself and looked at the mirror. She then pulled out that pearl hairpin and replaced it with a purplish-red jade begonia. Jingzhe blinked her eyes. This match is better than that hairpin just now. The image of the first time Xie Jingxing gave her this jade begonia floated in front of Shen Miao's eyes. At that time, they were suspicious and wary of each other, and were full of suspicion towards each other. At that time, Shen Miao was still not clear of Xie Jingxing's background, and only felt that he was not the same as the mischievous youth in the rumors of her previous lifetime. Most likely, there were too many coincidences and inconceivable wonderful things in life. Now she and Xie Jingxing were husband and wife and came to the Great Liang together. This was something that she would not have thought of at that time. Wearing this jade begonia, perhaps Xie Jingxing's anger would be appeased. It would also make him think that since they had come this step from strangers to husband and wife, there was no need for any other unnecessary suspicions or jealousy. Chapter 970. Shen Miao stood up, and there was a slight smile on her face. Ba Jiao and the rest are still waiting outside. Let's go. The few of them went out together, and indeed saw that the horse carriage was already prepared at the door with Ba Jiao and Shi Xiang guarding outside. Jingzhe asked curiously, "Is His Highness not going with foreign?" Shi Xiang replied somewhat awkwardly. His Highness had already gone first and let this subordinate come over to pick up foreign. This made others feel that something was wrong. The prince of first rank and Wang Fei did not go out together, but one after the other. Anyone with discerning eyes could see that there must be something wrong with this. Jingzhe and Guyu were somewhat indignant for Shen Miao, but Shen Miao said lightly, "All right, let's set off." She knew what kind of character Xie Jingxing had. He was a proud person deep in his bones, but sometimes he was as stubborn as a naughty child. She would not fuss over these matters, but when she thought of her apology tonight, she felt a sense of unease. Bai Shaolu is the largest and most expensive restaurant in Longyi. Not to mention the common people, even those high-ranking officials would have a lot of face if they wanted to hold a banquet here. Thus, to hold a birthday banquet here, it was not just one or two tables, but almost the entire restaurant. That was considered to be boundless. The more glorious it was, the more expensive it was. The residents of Prince Rui had held banquets here every year for the past 3 years, which was enough to see that the residence was overflowing with wealth. On the main seat, a young man was sitting diagonally as he carelessly listened to everyone's compliments. The purple gold robe almost covered the entire seat. Looking from afar, it was like the flowing night sky, with a kind of gorgeous charm. There were many people toasting, and one would naturally be slightly tipsy. However, that pair of peach blossom eyes seemed to be smiling, yet not smiling, as if he was slightly drunk, but was incomparably clear, making one unable to tell if he was drunk or sober. There were also females among the guests, and when they looked at that young man, they could not help but cast gazes of admiration. This Prince Rue was young and was incomparably handsome. He was full of elegance, but had a bit of evil charm, which was the type that females were most infatuated with. In addition to his noble status and wealth, he was the type that one would want to rush to his side no matter what. It was a pity that he had already married a wife at such a young age, and she was even a legitimate princess. But, although there was a princess, the position of concubine was still empty. Even if she could not become a side consort, becoming a concubine was something that everyone would fight over. Lu Wanner sat beside Lu Furin, and her gaze involuntarily went to Xie Jingxing's side. 2 years ago, when she saw Xie Jingxing for the first time, she had already fallen in love with him. At this time, all the males were vulgar, and only this person could make her fall in love with him. Unfortunately, the position that she should have stood beside him was occupied by that stupid woman, Shen Miao. Thinking of this, Lu Wanner was unable to restrain her anger and wished that she could tear Shen Miao into pieces. She had the intention to go over and say a few words to Xie Jingxing, but right now, there were those officials who were fawning over Xie Jingxing. She was after all an official's young lady, and even if she was more daring, it was impossible for her to fawn over him in front of so many people. He couldn't help but feel a little depressed. In the blink of an eye, she saw Yi Mei talking to Yi Ku, and Lu Wanner's face darkened. As a female, one would always be the most sensitive to the appearance of other females. Lu Wanner thought that she was pampered and spoiled, eating and wearing the best clothes, so when she looked at the females beside her, she would always look down on them. In the entire Long Yi, she thought that she was not much different from a princess and did not even put the Yi family, which was as famous as the Lu family, in her eyes. This was because the Yi family did not have many descendants and did not have any young ladies. But now she heard that the Yi family had recognized a son and a daughter who were wandering outside. Originally, Lu Wanner had the mentality of watching a show and wanted to take a look, but after seeing what Yi Mei looked like, she was not happy at all. Chapter 971. Yi Mei was too beautiful. Not to mention her beauty, she also had a special charm that attracted people to look at her all the time. It could be said that she was charming, but it was more naive than charming. It could be said that she was naive, but there was a mature charm to her. Most importantly, Yi Mei was very smart. For example, the two of them had just acknowledged their ancestors and met many madams for the first time. However, they were already able to chat happily with those madams. A beautiful, intelligent woman who knew when to advance and retreat was now crowned with the title of a Yi family's daughter. Seeing how Madame Yi doted on her, even though she felt guilty, Lu Wanner felt that she was in a much better position than Madame Yi in terms of status and influence. This made Lu Wanner feel a strong sense of crisis. She heard that this Yi Mei saved Prince Rue's life, so she naturally had a closer relationship with Prince Rue's residents. Lu Wanner gritted her teeth in hatred. All along, Lu Wanner saw Xie Jingxing as her. Even with Shan Miao, Lu Wanner had never given up on this idea. A foreign official's daughter with no relatives or connections in Long Yi. With the Lu family's ability, it would not be difficult to find an opportunity to make her disappear in the future. Thus, Lu Wanner had never put Shen Miao in her eyes. However, Yi Mei was different. One must know that the relationship between the Yi family and the Lu family had always been subtle. They could not be considered friends, but they were not enemies either. If the Yi family wanted to form a marriage alliance with Prince Rue's residents, Lu Wanner quivered and bit her lips tightly, not saying a word. While she was deep in thought, Madame Yi said in astonishment, "Speaking of which, I have never seen Princess Yi before. Why didn't the princess come today?" All the madams started whispering to each other again. Actually, they weren't blind. Since Shen Miao wasn't here, they had already seen it. The only reason why they didn't mention it was because no one wanted to. Now that Madame Yi had brought it up, they naturally started discussing it. Madame Yi said again, "Could it be that she is sick? A few days ago, when I went to pick up Mayer and Kerr, I saw that the princess looked a little haggard. Come to think of it, the prince was sick. As his wife, she was naturally worried. It seems that her health was not good at that time, and even the prince did not take care of her. His words caused an uproar. In Madame Ye's words, she secretly mentioned that she had been to the prince's residence before. The prince's residence and the Yi family had a close relationship because of the Yi siblings. He then ruthlessly belittled Shun Miao. When Prince Rui's life was hanging by a thread, Shun Miao did not even take care of him. Even if he was really sick, he was too heartless. On the other side, Xie Jingxing was drinking a cup of wine offered by his colleague. It was unknown if he had heard Madame Ye's words, but the corners of his mouth were curled up into a faint smile. He did not even look over. Someone said, "Could it be that the couple quarreled? How could this be?" Lu Foren smiled amiably. Didn't Qin Wang Fei personally say that Rui Qin Wang Fu would not accept any more people? It could be seen that the relationship between the two of them was very good. Otherwise, they wouldn't have said such words. Since their relationship was so good, they definitely wouldn't quarrel. Don't think too much about it. Until now, Lu Foren was still brooding over the words that Shun Miao said in front of Lu Wan'er. The more she said it, the more Shun Miao slapped her own face. Saying it like that, wasn't it just separating from her husband? Thus, people should not be so arrogant. When Lu Wan'er heard this, her mood for being disturbed by Yi Mei became slightly better. Even though she was not happy with Yi Mei, but if Shan Miao and Xie Jingxing were not good, she would be happy to see it happen. Yi Mei looked at Yi Foren slightly and said, "The prince's residence will not accept people." Chapter 972. Madame Yi shook her head and whispered. Qin Wang Fei said herself. Luo Tan really had a stomach full of anger when she heard it. She had rushed back in a travel-worn state and did not expect to not see Shin Miao. She did not know any of the madams and ladies here and could not rashly say anything to cause trouble for Shin Miao. Now that these people were going overboard, she could not bear it anymore. Could it be that she is not coming? A madam asked. Just as Luo Tan was about to refute, she heard a gentle and smiling voice from the door. "Sorry, everyone. I am late." Everyone subconsciously looked towards the door. A young lady brushed aside the bead curtain and walked in with a smile. She was young and looked very delicate. Her eyebrows were like crescent moons, and her eyes were like limpid autumn waters. Her lips were slightly hooked. She was wearing a purple sunset lily dress with dark patterns, a lilac-embroidered robe, a cloud bun, and dark purple gourd earrings. She was not dressed extravagantly and could even be considered simple. However, it seemed that with her arrival, the luxurious long hall became brighter. The somewhat dignified purple not only did not go overboard, it contrasted with her snow-white skin and picturesque eyebrows. When she walked over step by step, the hem of her dress swayed, and her beauty was compelling. That was a beauty that was completely different from Li Mei. Beauty was in the bones and not in the skin. Li Mei was beautiful, but this lady's beauty was like the spring stream, the summer thin ice, the autumn crescent moon, and the winter snow. Beauty was in her bearing and expression. It was as if 1 point more was more and 1 point less was less. It made people unable to take their eyes off her, but at the same time, they felt a biting cold. They did not dare to daydream and could only look up. Shin Miao slightly raised her chin and walked to the seat below the main seat and sat in the middle of the female side. Her expression was graceful. This room full of madams and ladies, as well as high-ranking officials and nobles, paled in comparison to her. She took the wine that Luo Tan handed over and smiled. "Late, punish yourself with a cup." Elegantly drank it clean, neither servile nor overbearing. Impartial, there was heroism but elegance. Among the people that came, there was Xie Jingxing following behind. Admittedly, it was to curry favor, but Shun Miao's actions made others have a good impression and immediately raised their cups and smiled. Wang Fei has a good bearing. Let's toast together. Luo Tan blinked her eyes and felt that Shun Miao was exceptionally good looking today, and her bearing was exceptionally different. No matter what, she was proud of it and felt that there was light on her face, and she could not help but straighten her back. Shun Miao gently smiled and swept her eyes across everyone present, but she remembered that Jingzhe and Guyu had been busy for most of the afternoon for her. She had to use the identity of Prince Rui's consort to get to know everyone in the Longyi royal court, and more importantly, Mei Foran was present. She did not allow herself to have any trace of defeat in front of Mei Foran. This was the dignity that she had brought along with her a pair of children. No matter how badly she lost in her previous life, this life would not be the same as her previous life. She would not give in even the slightest bit. Li Mei also looked at Shun Miao in a daze, and there was surprise in her eyes. Shun Miao faintly smiled at her, but her heart was as cold as ice. This pair of brother and sister actually dared to appear in front of her so openly, over and over again. Did they really think that with the Yi family, they would have nothing to fear? Luo Tan pulled Shun Miao slightly and whispered in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Biao, youngest sister, did you quarrel with brother-in-law? Why does it look like something is not right? Shun Miao turned to look at Xie Jingxing. He was listening to a bureaucrat's toast in front of him and was listening indifferently. His eyes did not even look over at this side. It was really full of indifference. Shun Miao was slightly sad. She did not know if Tai Yi had given him that letter. If it was given to him, it would still be like this. Tonight, Shun Miao was also not sure if she could explain it. Chapter 973. Just as he was thinking, he heard an official say, "Since everyone is here, let us congratulate His Highness the Prince's birthday together." Everyone raised their cups and congratulated. Xie Jingxing's lips curled as he drank his cup. One of the madams said, "Speaking of which, Madam Yi has just found Miss Yi and young Master Yi. Miss Yi is so beautiful. She must be talented and has a good relationship with Prince Rui's residence. Why don't you accept Jing-er? Why don't you show your skills to His Highness the Prince?" These words were somewhat belittling. A young lady from a wealthy family performing in front of everyone. If it was not a proper competition, it would seem frivolous. What's more, Yimei was raised by a merchant's family. Who would know about her talents? This foreign was obviously here to nitpick. The Yi family had many political enemies in Longyi. Yi Ku was unhappy, and Yi Foreign was about to return the compliment when she heard Yi Mei say with a smile, "It is not impossible, but I am afraid of spoiling everyone's mood and dare not make a fool of myself." The foreign who made the suggestion could not wait for her to make a fool of herself, and immediately laughed. How can that be? Thinking about it, it should not be. Isn't that right, Your Highness the Prince? Xie Jingxing raised his eyebrows and swept a glance over. His lips curled up, and he said with a smile that was not a smile, "Dance." His tone was somewhat casual, as if he was instructing a dancer to entertain others. Yimei's eyes flashed, and she stood up. She first bowed to Shun Miao and said, "Since everyone is in such a good mood today, I do not know if I have broken the rules by coming to Longyi. I am not very sensible, but I am willing to make a fool of myself to make everyone happy. After all, I am in the mood to play around." Her words were well-behaved and seemed to be thinking for others. There was some naivety, but there was some charm and provocation. But Shun Miao saw the provocation in Yimei's eyes. "I have learned a type of water sleeve dance from my adoptive mother in Qinzhou. Today I will dance it for everyone to see," she said. Shun Miao lowered her head slightly, and a sneer flashed across her lips. Yimei quickly changed her clothes and came out. She was born with a somewhat charming appearance, but she was wearing a snow-white long dress and a wide belt wrapped around her waist, making her extremely slender. To think that she was dressed in filial piety, she was indeed complimented by this snow-white dress, which made her look even more beautiful and graceful. Rice paper, brush, and ink were placed on the 4 neatly arranged screens. The maidservant who played the zither was also present. When the first note began, Yimei shook her long sleeves and began to dance. Shun Miao's nails almost dug into her palms. The ink wash dance was Yimei's best dance. Yimei was proficient in the 4 arts of zither, chess, calligraphy, painting, and painting. In the imperial harem, being the only pet naturally had its charm. The ink water dance was just one of them. When dancing, the sleeves would be dipped in ink and painted on the xian paper. After the dance, the painting would be completed. It was elegant and unique. The beauty was beautiful and picturesque. But this water-sleeve dance was the blood of Shun Miao's heart, a thorn in her eyes, and every time she saw it, the pain was unbearable. In the beginning, when the Xiong Nu came to request for a marriage, Fu Xiu, he wanted to marry Wan Yu over. Shun Miao used both carrot and stick, and even used the Shun family to threaten. But Fu Xiu Yi's heart was like a boulder and was unmoved. Wan Yu thought for a long time and came up with an idea. She learned a song and personally played it for Fu Xiu Yi. That song was something that Wan Yu searched for a long time and was changed by Shun Miao again and again. What Wan Yu wanted to say was all in the song. She only hoped that Fu Xiu Yi would remember the father-daughter relationship and not be so ruthless in his actions, and give Wan Yu a way out and dispel this idea. But on that day, Shun Miao invited Fu Xiu Yi to Kuanning Palace and let Wan Yu play it for Fu Xiu Yi. Just after she finished playing, she saw a trace of emotion in Fu Xiu Yi's eyes, and Mei Furen came uninvited. She smiled as if there was no one else present. "So your majesty is here. This official's concubine learned a new dance today and wanted to dance it for your majesty to watch. Since her ladyship is also here, then let us watch it together." She danced charmingly, and he watched with deep affection. But he completely forgot about Wan Yu and Shun Miao, who were still waiting. Shun Miao would always remember the disappointment in Wan Yu's eyes. Just a young female of 10 years of age, the vitality in her eyes slowly faded and almost returned to calmness. On the second day, Wan Yu came to kowtow to her and said, "Empress Mother, do not waste your thoughts for this son. This son is willing to have a marriage." How can anyone be willing to have a marriage? It was just that Wan Yu had seen Fu Xiu Yi's ruthlessness and Mei Furen's methods earlier than her. Perhaps Wan Yu felt that even if she rushed to the future without knowing the future, it would be more comfortable than staying in the palace and being stabbed in the dark. Finally, Wan Yu was free, but Shun Miao would never be able to let it go. The snow-white long sleeves fluttered in front of her, but Shun Miao felt that the long sleeves were not stained with ink. Every drop was the blood of Wan Yu's heart. It was also a thorn in her eyes, a nail in her bones. Chapter 974. Li Mei's waist was soft, and her movements were charming. Her pair of bright eyes seemed to be looking at someone else, but at the same time, it seemed like she wasn't looking at anyone else. She was like a butterfly, tickling people's hearts. Thinking that the butterfly was going to stay in his hand, he didn't guard against it, only to see the colorful butterfly flapping its wings and flying away. The female guests could not take their eyes off, not to mention the males. Men always liked good-looking things. His eyes were almost glued to Li Mei's body. Yi Furen and Yi Maokai also gradually revealed a proud expression. To be able to give birth to such a daughter with both looks and skills that made all the males in the great Liang flock to her like ducks, that was also a kind of ability, and not everyone had this ability. Lu Wanner was filled with jealousy and hatred as she gritted her teeth in anger. Shun Miao, however, looked coldly at Li Mei, who was dancing, and her thoughts were drifting back to the previous lifetime. The first time she saw Mei Furen was when she returned to the Ding capital from the Qin country. She only heard that there was an additional imperial concubine in the palace, but everyone respectfully addressed her as Mei Furen and did not mention the title of imperial concubine. This was somewhat unusual. Hearing that Fu Xiu Yi doted on this Mei Furen, even though Shun Miao's heart was sour, she did not think much of it. Thinking that with Fu Xiu Yi's cold temperament, no matter how much he doted on a person, it would not be too much. After that, she went to the imperial study to look for Fu Xiu Yi and wanted to talk to Fu Xiu Yi about a serious matter, but saw Mei Furen throwing Fu Xiu Yi's paperweight in the imperial study. On the day she returned to the palace, Mei Furen claimed that she was ill and did not come, so this was the first time she saw her. Shun Miao saw that that female was so beautiful that every frown and smile was like a painting, but she was arrogant and barbaric and actually threw a tantrum in the imperial study. Shun Miao thought that Fu Xiu Yi would get angry, and Fu Xiu Yi indeed showed an angry look, but that Mei Furen actually turned around and left. At that time, Shun Miao thought that such a strong female actually dared to talk to Fu Xiaoyi like that. With this kind of temperament, how long could she live in the inner palace? At that time, she was busy asking about Wan Yu and Fu Ming's situation and did not pay much attention. She only felt that that female was an extremely beautiful and extremely arrogant person. But even if Fu Xiaoyi was angered to this state, on the morning of the second day, Shan Miao saw Fu Xiaoyi accompanying Mei Foreign for a stroll in the Imperial Garden, and his words were filled with pampering, which made one stunned. She had never seen Fu Xiaoyi like this before, and Fu Xiaoyi was not a person with a good temper. Fu Xiaoyi's gentleness was only in front of his virtuous talents. Towards women, he had never been patient. But Mei Foreign had angered him yesterday, and on the second day, she was able to make Fu Xiaoyi smile. It was at that time that Shan Miao suddenly realized that this woman was not only beautiful and arrogant, she was extremely dangerous because she could play with one's heart in the palm of her hands. No matter if it was towards a man or not, in short, she had successfully captured Fu Xiaoyi's heart. Sure enough, as the days of Shan Miao's return to the palace grew longer, she gradually discovered that this Mei Foreign was somewhat scary. She looked arrogant and rude. She did not restrain her temper, but she just happened to maintain her rudeness at a safe level. Fu Xiaoyi only felt that her true temperament was hard to tame and became more and more fascinated. And when facing Shan Miao, Mei Foreign was rude, ridiculing, and tit for tat. Because of her relationship with Fu Shang, she had repeatedly provoked the relationship between Fu Ming and Fu Xiaoyi. Unfortunately, Fu Xiaoyi's heart had always been biased. What was the true face of Mei Foreign? Shan Miao looked at the charming woman in front of her. In this life, she had become the daughter of the Yi family. She was cautious, clever, and knew when to advance and retreat. She no longer showed her arrogant side. But was this really her true face? After dealing with Mei Foreign for a lifetime, Shan Miao knew how terrifying she was. She was a sly female like a fox. Whatever she wanted, she would never fight for it directly. She would go around and around with 9 twists and 18 turns. And at the end, she would still show off her cleverness and even put the blame on the person that she harmed. Chapter 975. What was she trying to do with her actions today? Did she want Xie Jingxing to be like Fu Xiaoyi, fascinated by her at first sight and fall in love with her the second time? Shan Miao sneered in her heart, but could not help but look towards Xie Jingxing's direction. With this look, she met with Xie Jingxing's gaze. Xie Jingxing's gaze was on Shan Miao, and most likely he did not expect that Shan Miao would suddenly look at him. He paused for a moment before turning his head away and continued to look outside as if nothing had happened, as if he was hiding something. But he did not see the person who was dancing enthusiastically in the middle. Shan Miao was surprised for a moment, and an indescribable feeling welled up in her heart. She had 120% hatred towards Mei Foreign and naturally had a hidden sense of inferiority towards herself. In terms of appearance and style, she admitted that she was not as good as Mei Foreign, thus, the previous Fu Xiaoyi did not hesitate to sacrifice her. And Xie Jingxing was several thousands of times better than Fu Xiaoyi. If Li Mei also took a fancy to Xie Jingxing, Shan Miao thought that it would be a disaster. But Xie Jingxing's gaze was on her and did not look at Li Mei. How was this different from Fu Xiaoyi? If it was Fu Xiaoyi, as long as Shan Miao and Mei Foreign appeared together, he would not even look at Shan Miao. People were indeed different from each other. Just like how she and Li Mei were different, Xie Jingxing and Fu Xiaoyi were also different. As she was thinking like this, she did not even know when Li Mei had finished dancing. She only heard the warm applause in the hall and then raised her head. She saw Li Mei standing there with a slight smile. Her forehead had some beads of sweat and her cheeks were pink, making her even more moving and beautiful. And behind her, the ink painting was completed. There was a Qilin stepping on the clouds, and it was a picture of a birthday wish. The painting was lifelike, and it was done with great effort. Ye young lady is indeed talented and skilled. A Darren from the Scholar Residence said, "The painting is lifelike and is a top-grade masterpiece." The young ladies in my scholar residence do not have this ability. The dance is also not bad. A foreign quickly followed. Ye foreign is really blessed. This young lady is like you. Not only is she beautiful, she is also talented. Look at our Long Yi. He dances so well and paints so well. He's really one of the best. Madame Yi accepted it with a smile, but Lu Wanner twisted her handkerchief in jealousy. Her eyes were filled with unwillingness. Another person said, I wonder what your highness thinks of this painting. Everyone looked towards Xie Jingxing. You may also look towards Xie Jingxing's side, but she saw Xie Jingxing holding a wine cup and looking out the window. She did not know what he was thinking as he was lost in thought and did not listen to the discussion at this end. Your highness? Gao Yang reminded him. Xie Jingxing regained his senses and asked, What is it? Let me ask you, what do you think of Miss Ye's birthday painting? Gao Yang asked. Everyone was a little embarrassed. Yimei was doing her best to show off her talent, and even drew a painting, but Prince Rue was simply distracted and didn't pay attention at all. This was undoubtedly too disrespectful to Yimei. When Xie Jingxing heard this, he swept a glance at the picture and slightly hooked his lips. Not bad. His perfunctory attitude could be seen even from 3 floors away. Yimei's smile was a little stiff, but when Shun Miao saw it, a trace of a smile flashed in her eyes. For someone like Xie Jingxing, how could he be distracted in such an occasion? Such a focused person must have done it on purpose. Even though she did not know why he wanted to deliberately embarrass Yimei, Shun Miao was slightly happy because of his action. Yimei caught this hint of her smile. Yimei stared at her and suddenly laughed softly. Speaking of which, when I was living in Prince Rue's residence, I heard that Wang Fei was also talented. Chapter 976. Suddenly, she changed the topic to Shun Miao. One only heard that Wang Fei's archery skills are excellent and never heard of anything else. Since today is Prince of First Rank's birthday, why not Wang Fei join in the fun and let us broaden our horizons? My daughter has admired Wang Fei for a long time. She said somewhat uncomfortably. Anyone who saw it would think that Yimei had heard of Shun Miao's rumors and worshipped her, wanting to witness it with her own eyes. But Shun Miao was a daughter of a military family. It was one thing to be good at archery, but no one had seen her dance before. If she did it, perhaps she would make a fool of herself, but if she did not respond, it would prove her reputation as a boorish person. Everyone looked at Shun Miao. Shun Miao gently smiled. I am the Wang Fei of Prince Rue's residence. How can I be like a courtesan, playing and singing and allowing others to watch? In an instant, the hall was silent, and Yimei's face turned red. Originally, singing and dancing in front of the ministers was a loss of face, but because Yimei was the daughter of the Yi family and was born beautiful and talented, everyone ignored this point. But for Shun Miao to say it out loud, it was very subtle. Yi Foreign's and Yi Mao Kai's faces were ugly. Yi Foreign wanted to speak, but once she opened her mouth, would it not be going along with Shun Miao's words and saying that Yimei was a courtesan? Lu Foreign and Lu Wanner were somewhat rejoicing in others' misfortune. They were most happy to see Shun Miao and Yimei quarreling. Xie Jingxing looked at everything with a smile and did not seem to feel that there was anything wrong with these words. He did not intend to mediate and just watched with folded arms. Luo Tan felt that Shun Miao seemed to be targeting Yimei, but there was a vague pleasure in her heart. It was originally Xie Jingxing's birthday, but this Yimei danced here and overtook the host. Moreover, she took the initiative to ask Shun Miao to sing and dance, so why would she ask others to do the same? Ji Foreign looked at Shun Miao, and her heart was anxious. Xie Jingxing's birthday was a banquet for all the officials, and Shun Miao made the atmosphere so stiff that others would only blame the residents of Prince Rue for not following the rules and damaging the reputation of the entire residence of Prince Rue. They would also say that Shun Miao was jealous and haggled over every ounce with a daughter of the Yi family. Yimei hesitantly stood in the same place. She slightly frowned, which made people feel pity. A good beauty was forced into such a situation, which made people feel very unbearable. Some of the men in the hall felt that it was unfair, but they also thought that they were righteous. They wanted to be a hero to save the beauty and speak up for Yimei. Shun Miao swept her eyes across everyone in the hall and took in everyone's expression. Yimei had this kind of ability. She never needed to say what she wanted. She frowned and sighed, urging the people around her to sacrifice their lives for her. Today, she rejected Yimei. She was afraid that the entire Long Yu would stand on Yimei's side the next day. How could he let Yimei get what she wanted? She stood up and smiled under everyone's astonished gaze. However, Miss Ye's kindness is hard to refuse, so I'll reluctantly accept it. It just so happens that I learned a song a few days ago, so I'll play for Miss Ye. How could it be played for, Miss Ye? Madame Lu said with a smile. Shouldn't it be to congratulate His Highness on his birthday? This song is very sad. Shun Miao said lightly. It does not seem like a celebratory tune and is not suitable to welcome one's birthday. It is just that I felt that it was good a few days ago, so I learned it. Since Miss Yi admires me, naturally good things should be shared with one, right? She looked at Yi Mei with a smile. Yi Mei also smiled softly. Naturally, these two people exchanged words back and forth, as if there was an invisible knife and sword shadow. Yi Mei was charming, and Shun Miao was dignified. Each had their own beauty, and for a moment one could not differentiate the primary and secondary. Shun Miao held up her sleeves and walked to the middle as Yi Mei withdrew. Jingzhe quickly found a chair for Shun Miao. Shun Miao looked up and asked, "Bring the zither over." Chapter 977. Guyu only came out after a long time and said, Bai Xiao Lu only has a Jiao Wei Qin. Foreign. The Jiao Wei Qin had a special sound, and Guyu was very clear that after following Shun Miao for so many years, when would she see Shun Miao play the Qin? On one hand, she was secretly hating this young lady of the Yi family for not having good intentions and wanting Shun Miao to do such an elegant thing. At the same time, she was making things difficult for Shun Miao, hitting one's face at one's own to impress others. Especially in this foreign land, no one would be courteous to Shun Miao on account of the Shun family's face. Most of the people here had ulterior motives and could not wait to throw stones at someone who was down. Especially with Yi Mei's unique ink dance in front of her, Shun Miao would pale in comparison no matter what she did. No problem. Just take it, Shun Miao said. When the surrounding Furins and young ladies heard this, they started whispering. Didn't one say that one is naturally rough to actually want to play the Qin? Should be wanting to compete with the young lady of a Yi family. Really competitive. AI. It is a pity for the residents of Prince Rue. One fear that they will lose face today. The people of Mingqi are really not able to be seen in public. Do not even know how much weight they have. Their voices were very soft, but they could not hide the ridicule in their eyes. Luo Tan was full of confidence. Even though she had not heard Shun Miao play the Qin before, she inexplicably felt that Shun Miao was omnipotent. Since she could say it, she would definitely be able to do it. Ji Yushu, however, whispered to Gao Yang, "Sister-in-law really know how to play the Qin?" In the beginning, when the Fengxian pawn shop investigated, there was not even a teacher who could play the Qin for her. Self-taught? That is too powerful. Gao Yang shrugged his shoulders. I also do not know. Let's wait and see. Pei Lang was also one of the guests at the banquet. Guang Wentang did not teach the zither, but Shun Miao did not choose to learn the zither. Pei Lang had heard the teachers there complain that Shun Miao could not even differentiate the zither strings. Now seeing Shun Miao gladly accepting it, it was hard to hide the surprise in his heart. He could not help but look at Xie Jingxing, thinking that Shun Miao was so competitive because of Xie Jingxing. Xie Jingxing slightly frowned. The hand that was holding the wine cup slightly tightened. Shun Miao burned incense and washed her hands before lightly saying, "This song is called Song of Blood." It was written by a young princess who was forced to go to the enemy country for a marriage alliance and was forced to condescend herself to marry the enemy country's leader who was over 50 years of age. She was uneasy about the future, but was helpless and hoped to change her imperial father's mind. This song was composed by her heart filled with grief and despair. Her voice was light, like the vague moonlight, but after Mei Forin's passionate dance, It made one quickly calm down, as if with her words, one had entered the story. She plucked at the strings. The sound of the scorch-tail zither was thick and heavy. It was not as clear and melodious as ordinary zither sounds. It was hard to move one's heart when plucked, but she played it bit by bit, playing for a long time. It was clearly an inexplicable zither sound, but it was heart-stirring. After the first sound of the plucking, the hall became quiet. She opened her mouth slowly and sang slowly. The vast Yangtze River flows from the west, the water's surface, the clouds' mountains, and the pavilions on the mountains. The mountains and rivers connect, the pavilions face each other, the arrangement of heaven and earth. Walking in the moon, walking in the stars, eating the autumn in the lonely home. Worries on the pillow, worries on the horse, rest after death. Her voice was usually gentle and as clear as water, but at this moment there was a sense of pain, making one's eyes turn red and their hearts sour. Along with her singing, along with her zither sound, it was as if a young princess appeared in front of one's eyes. She was born cute, but was forced to wear a phoenix coronet and a red robe, bitterly sitting in a corner of the palace. That palace was towering, serene, and heavy. At the age of innocence, one had to welcome a not easy fate. Chapter 978. She boarded the carriage and bade farewell to her mother. The emperor was heartless. She sacrificed her daughter for the great cause and became a royal princess. However, she was faced with a marriage that she could not decide. It was a long journey away from the capital. She lifted the curtain in loneliness. She looked at the eagles flying by, the fish swimming in the water, the wind, the rain, and the clouds. Everything was freer than her. In the near distance, the moon and flowers fly in the blink of an eye. Holding the farewell cup in her hand, her eyes were filled with tears of parting. I just told them to take care of themselves, but the people of the evil sect can't bear to let you go. Shun Miao's tears slowly flowed down. She was born delicate and dignified, with skin as white as jade. Under the light of the lamp, her bare hands were playing with tears. Her expression was clearly cold, but it seemed to be filled with endless suffering. Words could not be spoken, nor could words be sung. Her clear eyes were black and white, clear and limitless. However, it made her look even more like a flower in the rain, trembling and making people want to protect her. Her singing made everyone in the hall speechless. Their eyes reddened and their hearts felt stifled. They no longer had the joy they had when Li Mei was dancing. But suddenly the strings turned, the notes became rapid, and her words sharpened. Corrupt the country's monarch, treacherous officials monopolizing power, open the river to become the root cause of the disaster. The bureaucracy's laws are excessive. The criminal law is heavy. The people are resentful. Cannibalism? What about seeing? Thieves become officials. Officials become thieves, fooling around with the wise. How pitiful. It would be better to see this building collapse with my own eyes, turning it into rubble. Rise and fall for 50 years, and look at the ruined monument with cold eyes. Her eyes were cold and fierce, and her voice was filled with tears of blood. It was as if she was weeping and complaining, as if she was talking about the past. Then, the killing intent in his eyes was concealed. His heart was filled with resentment, but he had yet to make up his mind. Strand by strand, they all flew towards the seated Yimei siblings. In the end, when you did not play the entire song for Fu Xiuyi to hear, and the rest of the song was completed by Shan Miao. In the cold palace, she took the broken zither and played it for him to hear. The first half was Wan Yu's plea, and the second half was her accusation. In the night, there was no end to the noise, but those people could not hear it. Now here you are, listen. Listen carefully. Does this tune sound even a little familiar? Was there a trace of fear? Xie Jingxing put down the cup, and his gaze was as sharp as a blade. Yimei felt a little cold. What did the lyrics have to do with her? But why did it seem to be directed at her? Why did she feel uneasy in her heart? When the song was finished, the faint zither sound stopped, and Shun Miao suddenly stopped and raised her eyes. The hall was silent for a long time. Who dared to say that Princess Rue was nameless and did not know how to play the zither or chess. Being able to play and sing to silence the entire hall was also a skill. But why did it make one's heart sink? It was as if they had heard a sad story. No matter how hard they tried, they could not be happy. Shun Miao opened her mouth warmly and said, "This song is not considered joyous and should not be played on a birthday, but since young Lady Yi wanted to hear it, one specially played it for young Lady Yi." She looked at Yi Mei. Is young Lady Yi satisfied? Everyone's gazes fell on Yi Mei. Yi Mei was restless. These words were as if she was forcing Shun Miao to play the qin to embarrass herself, but she had to admit that Shun Miao was not rough. Playing the zither was not difficult, but it was difficult to move people's hearts. Her zither had already moved everyone in the hall, and if one were to go against one's conscience and say that it was not good, it would be disadvantageous. Princess is indeed, as rumored, to have unparalleled talent. Yi Mei smiled. This song of blood is really admirable. But she was somewhat puzzled. Why is the first and second half of this song of blood so different? The second half of the song seems to have changed. The second half was intense, resentful, and desperate, like the last cry of a trapped beast, making one tremble. Shun Miao moved her fingers. The front and the back were naturally different. The front was one used sorrowful words to move Fu Xiao Yi, but the back was her painful loss of her daughter, and after being banished to the cold palace, she complained about this pair of poisonous man and woman. Chapter 979. Shun Miao smiled. The first half was about the feelings of the little princess who was forced to marry off. The second half was about the despair and indignation of the birth mother of the little princess, the Empress, who lost her daughter. I see. Everyone was enlightened. Someone else asked, "This song is really touching. Where did the princess consort hear this story from? It really makes one sigh." It was just sung by a passing storyteller. Shun Miao smiled. I just felt that this story was too heavy, so I wrote it down. Oh, a young lady could not help but ask, since it is a story, what was the ending of the story? What was the ending of the princess who was married off? Shun Miao replied indifferently. The ending of the story was that the princess died on the way to the marriage, and the empress was banished to the cold palace. Not long after, she was given a pair of white silk scarves and died. Everyone else sighed and said that this story was too tragic. Madam, you was a little unhappy. Shun Miao's performance was actually incomparable to Yi Mei's. Yi Mei was charming and her dance was warm and moving, but Shun Miao only sat quietly and sang a few lines and attracted everyone's attention. Furthermore, she cleverly told a story and stole Yi Mei's limelight. This way, Yi Mei's ink-wash dance lost out. Everyone looked at Shun Miao with a slight change in expression. Women were always emotional. Shun Miao told such a pitiful story, and the sound of the guqin seemed to firmly grasp people's hearts. Everyone felt much closer to Shun Miao. Madam Yi said, "A joyous day makes people feel sad." Shun Miao also smiled. "It is my fault for disturbing everyone's mood." She walked to the table and took a wine bowl. That wine bowl was used by the men to drink. She also poured a full bowl for herself. The light yellow wine reflected her youthful appearance. A toast to apologize. She raised her head and downed the wine. Xie Jingxing's gaze suddenly darkened. He wanted to get up but had no choice but to suppress it. Shun Miao raised her chin. This bowl of wine was hurriedly poured, and some of the wine that could not be swallowed in time flowed down her neck and what a small piece of her clothes, but it was still a beautiful and delicate beauty that made one's heart break. Her eyelashes were long and her eyes were clear. Forget it. She placed the bowl of wine on the table in an elegant and heroic manner. I'll drink first as a sign of respect. This bowl of wine was well done. In the future, the heroic spirit in the hearts of her colleagues was ignited. They all picked up their wine bowls and smiled. Qin Wangfei has a good capacity for liquor. Cheers! Shun Miao smiled faintly, but that smile was somewhat unfathomable. She glanced at Yi Mei and her brother. Yi Mei and her brother were also staring at her. She looked outside. This bowl of wine had ignited the heat of the entire Bai Xiao Lu. After drinking till one's ears were hot, Shun Miao stood up and said to the female side of the banquet, "First go out to get some fresh air." He left on his own accord. Star Anise and Fennel were waiting for her outside as she walked towards the pavilion not far away. Shun Miao's throat only felt a burning sensation. That good wine was the strongest, but she did not feel drunk. It was just that the corners of her eyes seemed to be filled with hot tears from the spiciness. That cup of wine was a toast to her youngest daughter, the little princess who died tragically during the wedding ceremony. These people who were listening to the play felt that it was extremely tragic. Then what about her? What about Wanyu? When she was alone with the wedding procession, did she feel even more despair, like she was in a raging fire, but there was no source? She thought that she could endure it, but in the end she could not. As a mother, she would rather die 1,000 times than to let Wanyu and Fu Ming suffer. Chapter 980. She walked step by step. The moonlight was as cold as water, but it could not blow away the desolation in her heart. There were already wine and food baskets in the pavilion. Octagonal Anise said, "Foreign, the fireworks have been bought." Shun Miao complied. Just say it. She would be free after saying it. No matter how Siet Jingxing saw her in the future or what she had to face, she could endure it. Nothing would be worse than her previous lifetime. She could even endure those. Not being understood, estranged, and being looked at like a monster, what did it count as? Just as she was thinking, she heard a voice behind her. "Are you waiting for the prince of first rank?" Turning around to look, it was Pei Lang. Pei Lang glanced at the things on the table in the pavilion and smiled. "Did not think that you would do such a thing." Shun Miao asked him, "Why did you come out? Not used to this kind of place." Pei Lang said, "Cannot drink and plan to return first. Did not expect to see you preparing these." He said, "Are you planning to reconcile with the prince of first rank?" Shun Miao nodded her head. "Previously I often thought that there would not be anyone that you would submit to. Now I know that it is the prince of first rank." Pei Lang's smile had a trace of imperceptible sadness, but when he looked at Shun Miao again, it was still as light as the clouds and wind. Even though it is surprising, one also feel that it is not surprising. Shun Miao smiled gently. At the same time, Xie Jingxing, who was in by Xiao Lu, swept a glance at Tai Yi and was about to get up to leave. Ji Yushu pulled the corner of his clothes. "Today you are the birthday star. Why? You want to escape at the last moment? Let go." Xie Jingxing glanced at him. Ji Yushu obediently let go. "What exactly are you going to do? Be so mysterious." Gao Yang said, "Why do you care so much about him?" Xie Jingxing, however, looked sideways and looked at the Yi siblings who were talking to Yi Foreign. His eyes could not help but darken. Shun Miao's attitude towards this pair of siblings was really too strange. It seemed to have exceeded her own rationality and became like another person. This pair of siblings from the Yi family did not seem to be simple. Even though Mo Yujun could not find anything wrong, it was because of this that it made others feel suspicious. He suddenly thought of the letter that Tai Yi stuffed into his sleeves. That letter was written by Shun Miao to him. She didn't mention anything about apologizing. She just said that she had something to say to him at the birthday banquet in a pavilion in an alley not far from the Azure Heaven restaurant. Whether it was an apology or not, to Shun Miao, it was a big concession. Xie Jingxing was originally strong in appearance, but weak in heart toward Shun Miao and was easy to coax. Putting on a cold face was also an act, but at the moment his heart was happy. He thought that if he didn't punish her for 3 days, she would tear the tiles off her roof. After hanging her out for a while, she really became more sensible. However, he couldn't bear to make her sad. It was just that she was dressed too flirtatiously in the hall just now, and the admiring gazes of the men that fell on her when she was playing the guqin, it just didn't make him happy. In the pavilion, Pei Lang and Shun Miao finished their conversation and intended to leave. Just as he walked down the steps, he bumped into an 8 or 9-year-old child. Pei Lang was caught off guard and was knocked down. Star Anise and Fennel were waiting for Xie Jingxing to come over at the other side. Shun Miao thought that in this late night, could it be that one of the young masters from the Azure Heaven restaurant came out to play? Seeing Pei Lang groaning softly, It seemed that the fall was not light. She decided to go over to take a look. Just as she walked in front of Pei Lang, she saw that child lying face down on the ground. She did not know how he was as Pei Lang was calling him. Shin Miao also squatted down and was about to speak when that child suddenly raised his head with an ominous glint in his eyes. Shin Miao was caught off guard and saw a silver snowy light stabbing towards her. At this moment it was too late to dodge, but she saw Pei Lang suddenly hugging her and turning over, his whole body protecting her under his body. Following that, there was a painful groan, but he refused to let go and protected Shun Miao tightly. That child did not care and kicked Pei Lang away, turned the knife, and stabbed towards Shun Miao's body. A voice came from afar, and the child's hand moved to the side. When he looked at Shun Miao again, it was the same as Pei Lang. The blade had entered her abdomen. Xie Jingxing was walking towards this direction with Fennel and Star Anise. Fennel said, "Foreign has been waiting for you for a while. Fearing that you are still angry, she has been waiting for you patiently. When you see Foreign, you must be considerate of her." Xie Jingxing was expressionless, but a trace of smile flashed in his eyes. Bypassing the alley, they saw the pavilion. Before they got close, there was a strong smell of blood. Xie Jingxing's footsteps stopped. Star Anise and Fennel were also surprised. The moonlight was as bright as a lantern, illuminating the ground. It was supposed to be a refreshing and elegant scenery, but at this moment, it made one feel a chill from the bottom of one's heart. Large swathes of blood and familiar faces. Chapter 981. Tonight, in the residence of Prince Rue, was exceptionally unusual. The servants that were coming and going in the courtyard had a grave expression, as if the sky had collapsed. Even the wind at night seemed to be icy cold, causing one's forehead to break out in cold sweat. He followed beside the young male and whispered, "Master." No traces were found. Xie Jingxing swept a glance at him. The calmer his expression was, the more a black storm seemed to be brewing in his eyes, as if it would engulf the person in the next moment. He asked in reply, "No?" He shuddered, and just as he was about to speak, he saw Gao Yang walking out from inside. Gao Yang's body still reeked of alcohol, and it was obvious that he was hurriedly called over during the banquet. Luckily, his eyes were clear, and he was not drunk. He walked straight over and said, "Sister-in-law is fine." The knife wound did not injure any vital parts, and had already ordered someone to bandage it. Most likely she fainted from the shock and had taken some calming medicine. She would be able to wake up tomorrow morning. Xie Jingxing's eyes were slightly at ease, and he also gave a sigh of relief. He then heard Gao Yang saying, "But Pei Lang's injuries were very serious. The knife wound was too deep, and there was a lot of blood. I have done everything that could be done. Whether he could pull through or not, it still depends on him." The meaning of his words was that whether Pei Lang could wake up would depend on whether his life was tough enough. It seems that it was Gentleman Pei who blocked this knife for Foreign. He said carefully. Even though Pei Lang's position in the residence of Prince Rue was somewhat subtle, one could not help but be grateful to him. This is not a good thing. Gao Yang looked at Xie Jingxing, who had a cold expression, and said, "If he really did not wake up, with sister-in-law's temperament, she would feel guilty in her heart for the rest of her life." Shin Miao was a person who was very clear about her feelings and did not like to owe favors to others. If one owed something to others, one would definitely return it. Pei Lang really saved with his life. In the future, when Shun Miao woke up and knew about the matter, if Pei Lang was not alive, one really did not dare to think what would happen to Shun Miao. "Has Long Yi sealed the city gates?" Xie Jingxing asked. "Sealed," Yi said. "The MOU Army Secret Department were all dispatched, but since the surrounding people did not discover it, and Foreign did not even have the time to call for help, that person either does not have martial arts or his technique is very brilliant." Xie Jingxing said, "There's no need to think. Capture him alive and beat him to death. The person behind this, check again." Yi left under orders, and Xie Jingxing looked at Gao Yang again. "You stay here tonight. If the situation is critical, there's no need to walk back and forth." Gao Yang said, I know. He then took a look at Xie Jingxing. You should also rest first. His expression was very solemn. Not far from the Azure Sky building, he dared to attack Princess Rue. The courage of the other party was too big. Not only that, even Prince Rue's residence was not in their eyes. Most likely only the Liu family would have such guts in the Ding capital. But the Liu family would not start from Shen Miao's side. Thus the meaning behind this matter was somewhat profound. No matter what, this was a signal that the hidden forces finally could not hold back and began to move. And the first person that they chose to sacrifice in the residence of Prince Rue was Shen Miao. But at the moment, Xie Jingxing did not have the mind to care so much. He walked into the room and saw Shen Miao lying on the boat. Her face was pale and her eyes were closed with her eyelashes hanging down, making her look very weak. He sighed and sat down at the side of Shen Miao's bed. There was a food basket on the table in the room, and inside was the longevity noodles that Shen Miao instructed the Azure Sky Building's kitchen to specially make for her. Octagon and Nice said that one was afraid that it was spoilt, so it was specially filtered with cold water. But now that so much time had passed, even if it was filtered, it was already stuck together. Chapter 982. Xie Jingxing thought about it and reached out to open the basket and took out the bowl from inside. The noodles in the bowl had already condensed into a paste, and one could vaguely see the white noodles, green vegetables, and an egg yolk. When it was just taken out of the pot, it must have been fragrant. Now that it was cold, it was not tasty. Xie Jingxing took a pair of chopsticks and started to eat in big mouthfuls. Star Anise and Fennel said that Shen Miao had asked Guyu to buy a lot of fireworks, wine and dishes in a small pavilion not far from Baishao Lu. It was the best place to watch the fireworks. She also specially instructed people to cook longevity noodles at the right time, presumably to make amends. The two of them fought for a while, and in the end it was Shen Miao who lowered her head first. Star Anise also said that Shen Miao did not have a good time these days, and Xie Jingxing's heart was relieved. He was a man and had to be more magnanimous and would not haggle over the past matters. Who knew that before the words of apology could be said, he saw Pei Lang and Shen Miao lying in a pool of blood. It was hard to describe the feeling at that moment. It was obviously the height of summer, but one felt a chill from head to toe and lacked the courage to go forward to confirm. Fortunately, nothing happened. Xie Jingxing's noodles tasted like wax and finally finished the bowl of noodles. He placed the empty bowl on the table and held Shen Miao's hand. But he regretted it. If he did not want to be angry with Shen Miao, why would Shen Miao want to make amends with him? If she did not go to the pavilion beside Baishao Lu, perhaps this would not happen. Outside, Luo Tin had received the news and was hurrying over. When she saw Gao Yang, she first asked, "What happened to my youngest Biao sister?" "She is fine," Gao Yang said. Pei Lang blocked a knife for her. "Teacher Pei?" Luo Tan was startled. "How is Teacher Pei?" "Not very good." Gao Yang shook his head. "Even you cannot save him?" Luo Tan asked. Gao Yang smiled bitterly. "I am a physician and not a bodhisattva. If everyone can be saved, no one would go to King Yama's palace." Luo Tan said, "Today I only know that youngest Biao's sister quarreled with brother-in-law and said that it was because youngest Biao's sister did not visit brother-in-law when he was ill. The Furins in Baishao Lu were all saying that Biao Biao was not good and said that Biao Biao was cold and heartless. What do they know? When Biao's youngest sister was at the strange Taoist priest's place asking for medicine for brother-in-law, who among them saw it? You are being unreasonable." "Strange Taoist?" Gao Yang understood the crux of her words and asked, "What strange Taoist? What do you mean by asking for medicine?" Luo Tan was stunned for a moment and was annoyed that she had said the wrong thing. In a moment of carelessness, she thought that Shen Miao did not allow her to speak and said, "Nothing, I just casually said it. I will go and see youngest Biao's sister first." Finishing, he walked towards the room where Shen Miao was lying. Gao Yang pulled her back. "Don't go. Xie Jingxing is inside." Luo Tan lowered her head, suddenly thinking of something, said, "Are you staying here tonight?" "I want to stay here and see what's going on with Pei Lang," Gao Yang said. "You can go back first." Luoten shook her head. I am not going back. I will stay here and wait for youngest Biao's sister to wake up. Gao Yang knew that Luo Tan had a stubborn character and did not persuade much. This night, in everyone's heart, was exceptionally long. The matter of Shun Miao and Pei Lang being assassinated was concealed, and everyone in by Xiao Lu did not know about it. They only thought that Xie Jingxing had left early and did not know that it was a sleepless night in Prince Rui's residence. This night, the servants were anxiously waiting for the ending. In the summer, the days were long and the nights were short. When the sun started to shine and the birds in the courtyard started to sing, the two rooms were silent. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.